This is Agriculture Today, and I'm Shelby Varner with the K-State Radio Network. Starting the show is K-State Associate in the Department of Agricultural Economics, Antonina Broyaka, with a Ukraine update. The country is still experiencing unfavorable conditions because of Russia. Antonia keeps the show going by continuing the update on Ukraine. We are then joined by K-State's Angie Denton and Chair of Animal Sciences and Industry Family and Friends Reunion, Mary McCurry, to preview the upcoming reunion. K-State Research and Extension Horticulture Agent from Riley County, Gregg Eyestone, completes the show by explaining what to look for when selecting bulbs and why conducting a soil test before planting might be a good idea. That and more is coming up ahead. You're tuned in to Agriculture Today, and we start our Thursday show with an update on Ukraine from K-State Associate in the Department of Agricultural Economics, Antonina Broyaka. This webinar was recorded on September 20th. And first, she starts off the conversation with where the president of Ukraine currently is.
These days, President Zelensky is visiting the U.S., and yesterday he addressed the world at the United Nations General Assembly, and today at the United Nations Security Council, warning the threat to the world peace-based order from Russian aggression, which will not stop at the border of Ukraine unless the world finally unites in the fight against the terrorist country.
She continues by giving a little bit of background about the current conditions.
There is no secret that our rich soil and favorable geographical location, which access to the Black Sea, made Ukraine very attractive to Russia. Blocking Ukrainian export and destroying Ukrainian agriculture, Russia is increasing its influence on import-dependent countries using food as a weapon. As you know, Russia withdrawn from the grain agreement, but didn't stop on that. Russia decided that if they can't control our export, they will destroy our ports. And since July 18, Russia launched several missile attacks to Odessa and Danube River ports and destroyed 280,000 tons of grain in those ports and 105 objects of port infrastructure.
Broyaka explains how the new ports in Ukraine are doing.
So the Danube River ports now plays the most important role. And during the year, the new ports almost doubled their shipment of grain. And since May, due to constant blockade of a grain initiative by Russian side, the Danube River for the first time started to transship more grain than Black Sea ports. In June, grain exports through the Danube River exceeded 2 million tons. In August, they set a record of 2.4 million tons, and it looks like new record will be set in September, since the new ports already transshipped almost 2.2 million tons of grain. But again, it is still not enough. The new port facilities are not designed to increase their capacity significantly. Even with the full loading and operating 24/7, the new ports will never replace Black Sea ports. That is why Ukraine developed a plan how to continue export from the Black Sea ports, and not only agricultural exports, because during the operation of grain initiative, only vessels with ag commodities could leave Ukraine. So now the temporary humanitarian corridor established for civilian ships to and from Black Sea ports of Ukraine since October 8, which spans the western coast of Black Sea coast near Romania and Bulgaria. So the corridor it mainly be used to evacuate ships that were in Ukrainian ports at the time of full-scale invasion of Russia.
Broyaka does say that there is some positivity in Ukraine when thinking about this year's crop.
During the last few weeks, the harvest forecast for Ukraine is becoming more and more optimistic, thanks to favorable weather conditions and good yields. Totally, grain, legumes, and oilseeds harvest are expected at 80.5 million tons compared to almost 74 million tons in previous year. And this is under war conditions, with almost 20% of arable land not being in use. 57 million tons of grain and legumes is expected, which is 3 million tons more than in previous year. The forecast for corn harvest is 28 million tons, which is 11 million tons less than 2021. Wheat, 22 million tons, almost 11 million tons less than in 2021. Sunflower is expected up to 14 million tons, which is 3 million tons less than in 2021, but still more than in previous year. USDA forecast is pretty similar actually to the forecast of Ukrainian Ministry of Agriculture. So harvesting campaign is in progress, and we expect to harvest more than 10.5 thousand hectares of grain and legumes. As for now, we harvested 6.5, which is 61%, and we already have 28.6 million tons of grain, including 22 million tons of wheat, 5.8 million tons of barley, and 4 million tons of rapeseed and 1 million ton of sunflower seeds. Of course, the average yields are lower compared to the pre-war yields because Ukrainian farmers were not able to apply enough fertilizers, and vegetation calendar and agri-technologies, of course, were not followed. But even under such conditions, Ukrainian fertile soil shows good results. Actually, during the Risk and Profit conference, spoke to Kansas farmers, and they told me that their average yields are twice less this year than in Ukraine. I understand because of the drought, but Ukraine has the war, and we still have pretty good results.
Next, she reviews expected exports.
Consequently, export of grain, legumes, and oilseeds from Ukraine in 23-24 marketing year is expected at around 49 million tons compared to 59 million in previous year. Corn export can exceed 22 million tons, including ending stocks from the previous harvest. Export of wheat is expected at the level of about 16 million tons. Some increase is expected on a rapeseed export. As you can see, USDA forecast is less optimistic, but I think they consider situation if the ports will remain blocked.
Broyaka continues with supply and demand of grains and legumes from Ukraine.
It is a little bit more optimistic compared to previous forecast, but still shows that expected production will be pretty close to the previous year, which is 37% lower than pre-war situation. It also considers pessimistic scenario if Ukrainian export will be limited due to port blockade, and it will be mainly railway and trucks export. The positive is that our ending stocks in this marketing year were much lower than in previous year. This is due to both lower production actually and intensive export during the year. So we believe that even under limited export, we will have enough storage capacities because production is expected in a similar year. By the end of the next marketing year, we expect that our ending stocks will twice higher than this year. We also expect a higher grain consumption because of fodder grain. We try to restore lost livestock, and there are some government programs to help farmers.
She now discusses what is expected from the wheat market.
The situation on the wheat market is the most critical compared to other grains. Production for several years in a row is lower than consumption. It leads to the gradual decrease in ending stocks. And next year is going to be even worse. The next marketing year, we expect lower production for 8 million tons, 11 million tons less in export, and the lowest ending stocks equal 258 million tons. And this could be easily covered by Ukraine if Russia wouldn't come to our land with the war. To eliminate Ukrainian grain shortage on the market, other countries are trying to replace Ukraine. India is expecting a significant increase in wheat production for 10 million tons. At the same time, Australia is going to have 14 million tons less, and some increase in harvest is expected in Argentina and the US. So USDA estimates decrease in Russian production to 85 million tons, while Russian Ministry of Agriculture is more optimistic. And even China and EU are the largest producers of wheat. The biggest exporter is Russia, and its share is growing. Russia is going to have almost a quarter of wheat market this year. This is a pretty large share that allows manipulating with the market supply and prices. EU is planning to increase export for 3 million tons, which includes re-export of Ukrainian grain. And talking about import, last year EU and Turkey were the largest buyers actually of the wheat after China. This year, China, Egypt, and Indonesia are continuing to grow their demand, but Turkey planned to buy 3 million tons less because they bought this year more than enough of cheap wheat from Ukraine and Russia, being grain initiative negotiators, and their ending stocks are pretty high. Similar situation with European Union. Their market is oversaturated with Ukrainian grain, and they also have good harvest, so they're going to import 5 million tons less.
That was Associate in the Department of Agricultural Economics at K-State, Antonina Broyaka. We will once again be joined by her after we come back from our short break. You're tuned back into Agriculture Today, and we continue our show once again with K-State Associate in the Department of Agricultural Economics, Antonina Broyaka. She continues her Ukraine update with the current and expected condition of the corn market.
Situation on the corn market is more optimistic. Even in 22-23 marketing year, World had lowest ending stocks and pretty low export. Next year, we expect the 5% growth in production, and this will help to increase both export and ending stocks. As I said, Argentina is expecting increase in corn production this year up to 20 million, and US up to 36 million. But unfortunately, Ukraine lost a third of its pre-war corn production, and we moved from 6th positions to 7th. But Russia will have just a million ton of corn less than usual. But Russia actually is not the biggest exporter of corn in the world. So it cannot replace Ukraine. So the biggest exporter this year is going to be Brazil. But Ukraine will still, even if with a lower production, will still remain on the 4th place.
Broyaka explains another reason that Ukraine is critical to Russia.
I would like to give you some other thoughts why Ukraine is so important to Russia. One of the reasons for constant pressure on Ukraine from Russia that Ukraine is not self-sufficient in natural gas production. In 2013, the share of Russian natural gas import to Ukraine amounted 92%. In 2015, 74%. But since November 2015, after Russian invasion to Donbass and Crimea annexion, Ukraine stopped buying gas from Russia. This created the need for the formation of energy independence based on a diversification of gas supply sources, and also development of bioenergy production from agricultural crops. But for Russia, gas production and export is main business, and huge volume of gas was going to other countries through Ukrainian transshipment system and Ukrainian ports. And currently, Ukraine limited this supply. Russia is getting huge losses from sanctions on gas and oil sales. The same with fertilizers. Now, as you know, Russia is demanding to resume the operation of Odessa ammonia pipeline. But this is not going to happen until Russia will leave Ukraine.
That was Associate in the Department of Agricultural Economics, Antonina Broyaka. You can hear her full update on Ukraine and the Black Sea region that she recorded on September 20th by going to AgManager.info. I will link that webinar in today's show notes, which, as always, you can find on agtoday.net. We're now going to be joined by Family and Friends Reunion Committee Chair Mary McCurry and Director of Communication for Kansas State University's Animal Sciences and Industry, Angie Denton. Mary, Angie, I appreciate you both being able to take the time to join us today.
Thank you for having us.
This upcoming reunion is the Kansas State University Animal Sciences and Industry Family and Friends Reunion. It's the 9th one taking place, and Mary, to discuss this reunion, what is this for?
We are so fortunate that somebody had the vision, actually Patsy Houghton and the group at Livestock and Meat Industry Council 9 years ago had this vision and to create this event, and we understand it's probably the only one of its kind in the country, to create and continue and celebrate the culture of the Animal Science and Industry Department that I think most of us that went to school here felt like and still continue to feel this amazing aura around the department and what it's created with its students and faculty. And to continue a tradition like that, or the culture, you really need an event that ensures the next generation coming on from little ones all the way up have an opportunity to gather and celebrate. And it's because it's not a fundraising event, it's very unique in that aspect. But we work really hard to make that event something that people look forward to every year.
And who are those people that might be attending the event?
Typically, it's the family. It's our Animal Sciences Industry family, from our alumni to former students to anyone who's connected to our department, past judging team members, faculty, and staff. And it's all about reconnecting and catching up with those friends and family.
For the kids or even the adults who might be coming, there's some fun activities that are taking place.
We make sure of that. So I think from the moment they go through registration, the smiles are all over their face. And so the little ones we call head directly through the event into the junior barnyard. It's a magnificent tent full of unique, one-of-a-kind creations by one of our committee members. And so there's an I call it an entertainment center there, as well as educational center, because we've been very fortunate to had the veterinary school involved with a couple of items such as the cow with the birthing presentations that the kids can actually do an actual experience with that, and also an equine area there too. So we've got that. We've got flag football. We've had bands before. We are so fortunate to continue to get the K-State marching band, and Willie, the Wildcat, is going to make an appearance this year, and we're very, very excited about that. So it's a little bit of everything for if you just want to stand and visit and see folks you haven't seen and get reconnected, or if you want to participate in events, we have those going on outside as well.
And, of course, a big part is the food.
Oh, yes.
Being tied to the animal science industry, we have good beef, good pork. We have a milk bar for the kids of all ages to have milk. And, of course, we end the evening with the famous Call Hall ice cream. And another big thing of Family and Friends of Reunion is we honor our Don L. Good Impact Award winner each year. This year we are recognizing Larry Cora, Professor Emeritus, who has had such a distinguished career in the livestock industry.
And for people who are wanting to attend this Family and Friends Reunion, when is it and when does it get started?
We are looking forward to, and mark this on your calendar, Saturday, October the 7th. Starting at 4 p.m., doors open for social and gathering time and kids' activities. It moves forward to the food line opening at 5:30, and our program and presentation is at 7:15 p.m. And for those football fans, know that this is the day after K-State plays OSU at Oklahoma. So if you're driving back home, this is the perfect place to pull in and cap off a great weekend with us. So we're very excited about. We have in the past tried to target having it on football game weekends, and so last year was our first moving off of a home football game in order to accommodate a lot of those families who have high school activities and other obligations through Friday evening. And I think we saw a lot of first-timers arrive, and we're so thrilled to be able to schedule. Everybody's busy, schedules are full, and we're going to try to accommodate and do some rotational basis. But this year it falls, I think, the perfect duo, football on Friday night and family and friends on Saturday.
Do people need to take the time to register for this event?
Yes, the early registration deadline is Friday, September 22nd. It's $30 for adults. Kids 5 and under are free. And after the 22nd, on the 23rd, the price raises to $50.
And where is this event taking place?
The event's at the Stanley Stout Center, just north of campus. It's home to lots of our animal science events up there on the hill.
And if people are wanting to find out more information and go about registering for this event, where can they do that?
asi.ksu.edu/family and friends.
Angie, Mary, both of you have spent, I'm sure, a bunch of time getting this put together. And so what makes you excited as you see it come to fruition for its 9th year?
It's the most fabulous event. It is the opportunity for folks, if you are excited about seeing friends and former colleagues, get reacquainted, meet some new folks, have the opportunity to have some fabulous food because we are highlighting the proteins. That's the world we embrace and live in, and so we can't wait to host you and hope you have a wonderful evening just relaxing and enjoying the culture and the tradition that's been started at K-State's Animal Science and Industries. So we hope you'll go visit that website and get registered and come join us.
It's my favorite night of the year that we host every year, the Family and Friends Reunion. To me, it's that reconnection. It's seeing and being a K-State graduate, reconnecting with my fellow classmates as well as generations after that. And then the excitement of those little kids getting to sign their letter of intent to come to Animal Science one day and get to see Willie and connecting our whole K-State Animal Science family.
That was Director of Communications for K-State's Animal Sciences and Industry Department, Angie Denton, and she was joined by Family and Friends Reunion Committee Chair, Mary McCurry, and they were discussing the 9th Kansas State University Animal Sciences and Industry Family and Friends Reunion, which is taking place Saturday, October 7th, starting at 4 p.m. in the Stanley Stout Center in Manhattan, Kansas. Pre-registering early bird for this event ends Friday, September 22nd. As of now, adults are $30, students are $10, and if they're under 5 years old, they get in for free. You can find out more information about how to register and about this event by going to asi.ksu.edu/family and friends. Again, that is asi.ksu.edu/family and friends. I will link that in today's show notes, which you can find on agtoday.net. We're now cutting to a short break on Agriculture Today, but we'll be back with more ahead.
This is Agriculture Today. Along with Shelby Varner, I'm Jeff Wickman. Spring flowering bulbs such as tulips, daffodils, and crocus should be planted in early to late fall to give them enough time to root before winter. K-State Research and Extension Horticulture Agent for Riley County, Gregg Eyestone, says that now is a good time to select and purchase bulbs and conduct a soil test. Gregg, may be a little early to actually be planting spring flowering bulbs, but a good time to really be thinking about what you want to purchase and making those purchases.
That's right. Of course, we want to get the best bulbs that we can, and so maybe shopping early if you're going to a retail store would be ideal. Those flowers are in that bulb that you purchase, and so the bigger the bulb, the bigger flower show you're going to get from that. So if that's important to you, you may want to seek out the biggest bulbs. If you're on a more of a budget situation, the smaller ones are okay. They may take a year or two to really develop. They should have flowers no matter what, as long as you get them in the ground and everything goes well as far as nature is concerned. It's just the size and what you're really looking for in your landscape.
What are we looking at primarily in terms of what people might purchase here in Kansas? What's maybe the most popular?
I would say probably the tulips are very popular as far as the colors that they come in and the range of different petal development. There's all kinds that look frilly or your typical tulip bulbs. So lots of options there. The one precaution I'd put on that is not only do we love them, but some of our wildlife like to feed on those flower bulbs as well, whether it be in the ground or as the flower comes up. I'm thinking of deer in particular. I can no longer plant tulips in my landscape because of the wildlife issue that can develop. So you just need to take that into consideration. But narcissus or daffodils is the direction I've gone because at least deer don't seem to prefer those. Your range of colors from white to yellow is kind of your limitation on those situations. So it kind of depends on what you're looking for and what inputs you want to include as far as wildlife management or other factors that may come into play.
Are there different varieties within there so that you can get different colors?
Yeah, so all these flowers have developed over time, and so you get a wide range of colors, whether it be narcissus or tulips. Crocus are a wonderful flower, one of the earliest ones that come up, sometimes making us feel like spring is close by. So these are options. The hyacinth bulbs are pretty common and very fragrant as well. Those work at least for the first year very well. The second year, they may not be as tight or the same looking flower to them for our growing conditions, but there's lots of options there. Again, when you're purchasing bulbs, look for the big one if you want. And, of course, we want something that is kind of a solid bulb when you pick it up and feel it, and also something that doesn't have a lot of mold or something that's maybe growing on the skin.
Would we also still have time to do a soil test?
That would be great. There's kind of reference information about using a 5-10-5 of flower bulb type of fertilizer when you plant, and that's if your soil's needing that. We're fortunate here in most of Kansas that we don't require or the soil doesn't need those. They're already there, so it's kind of more of an option thing. Soil test is great before you plant anything to know exactly what our soil has, and so you're not polluting the environment by adding that 5-10-5 fertilizer if you don't need it.
And does that go to the extension office and then to the lab or just directly to the lab?
Yeah, so hopefully you bring it to the extension office. Oftentimes we have some discounts that can save you a little bit of money. It just routes a little bit easier if you bring it to our office and it goes up to the K-State lab, which will do their test, but they like to route that information back to the local office. So in case there's something that needs tweaked, that way it can be the best information given out to the consumer.
You mentioned there may be an amendment needed, and that's fairly simple to do.
It is, and typically what we'd like to do is, so these bulbs don't like wet feed, if you will, or a very tight soil, and so adding compost or some type of organic matter mixed into that soil would probably be the first thing I would want to do, and then maybe soil test if that's necessary, but oftentimes our soil has the nutrients, so just adding that pore space with organic matter will really help out the survival rate of our bulbs. Typically October probably is our high point of getting bulbs in the ground, but it's good to get thinking about it and maybe get some bulbs purchased.
That's K-State Research and Extension Horticulture Agent for Riley County, Gregg Eyestone, with tips for selecting and planting spring flowering bulbs. And that'll do it for this edition of Agriculture Today. For Shelby Varner, I'm Jeff Wickman. This is the K-State Radio Network.